Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park and a brand new season for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama. I'm Kevin Lee, joined by former Indy Lights and also sports car driver Anders Krohn. And we are starting lap number 2 of the season opener, a first of a doubleheader, 8 weekends, 16 events. Roman Deangelis started from the pole, led into turn number 1. And Parker Thompson moved from 3rd to 2nd. And let's go back and look at the start of the race just a couple of moments ago.
Yeah, and it was a frantic start, and always is here at Barber Motorsports Park. So difficult to make any overtakes. Look at this, 2, 3 wide in the back there, and a big crash, eliminating 2 or 3 of the cars right off the bat.
It's a 30-car field. 20 are in the Platinum class, 10 in the Gold class. There are also Platinum Masters for drivers 45 and older. So really 3 races within the race today. And Alan Metni in the 99i Fly car won the pole for the Platinum class, won that championship last year, so he's going to be someone to watch. He's leading that group 5th overall right now, and he's someone to watch because the 52-year-old dominated Platinum towards the end of the season last year. Now the goal is, I'm ready to try to step up and race with the kids a little bit, he told me. And
he's done a tremendous job. I was watching him in practice yesterday, just how much he was hustling that car in very difficult conditions, drying conditions at the time, and he's really getting close to challenging some of the up-and-comers here. And if you look at the field, Roman Deangelis, who was so strong in the series last year, then you have open-wheel star Parker Thompson as well running in the 2nd place. I mean, these are some seriously talented youngsters, as we have a lot of battling in the back of the pack, but so many opportunities here to hone your craft. And and we have a spinner, and that's Gomez, last year's Gold Series champion in the 25 pink car.
He started further back than what I think he hoped and expected. Started in the 9th position, and Gomez has already spun it around, the 22-year-old from San Juan, Puerto Rico, who goes to school in the Boston area, Bentley University. So he is going to try to get back in, but way down at this point. There's the Masters leader, Alan Metni, running 5th overall. And you mentioned Parker Thompson running in 2nd. In fact, 2nd and 3rd are making their series debut right now, trailing Roman Deangelis. Let's look again at what happened in that pink car.
And it's just Gomez too deep on the brakes, locks up the rears, probably did a downshift too early there, and the moment when you do that and the downshift goes in, it has the tendency to lock, and you'll notice it's also a big downhill there in the brake zone for turn 5, so very easily done, and lucky to not collect any of the cars with him.
Charlie Luck got into him just a little bit, the 45 car, the Masters driver, former NASCAR Busch Series driver, several top 5s back in the 80s, enjoying a 2nd career.
And I tell you, I love the diversity in this series here, with Alan Metni here being closely followed by Jeff Kingsley, who's an up-and-comer. And Jeff Kingsley, I think, has got the pace at the moment, but just hasn't been able to find a gap. Let's see, can he outbrake him going into turn 5? He could very well try the high-low here, try and square off the corner and get on the power. Let's see if he can do anything. But now he's coming up to a part of the track where it's very difficult to overtake, coming up to turn 8 here, so I doubt he's going to be able to do anything with Alan Metni, but it's just a terrible situation to be in, the one that Alan Metni is in, where you're spending more time looking in your rear view mirror than you're looking forward, and that means that you're going slowly, and as a result, you can see the gap there that he's lost to Root in 4th place.
Metni is just in his 3rd year racing in the series, and he told me when I started I was really bad. So when he won the championship last year, he kind of became a fan favorite within the other drivers in the paddock. So with how far he's come, and he said one of the reasons I've been able to make so much progress is we look up front and see the Hertz car. That's the 2nd place car, Parker Thompson, with the Riley Dickinson right behind him. He said one of the reasons I've been able to make so much progress because I'm willing to drive anything, and I'm spending time in shifter carts and just learning the craft at a different age, but he's picked it up pretty quickly.
And I'm very impressed, and it's not easy when you have these youngsters that are hungry and have a lot of open wheel and sports car experience to try and make up for that lost time. But all the respect in the world for Alan Metni, as that battle for 2nd place is really heating up, and Parker Thompson at the moment showing good speed in his transition from open wheel racing. But as I talked to him a bit earlier, he said the really big thing that I'm struggling with in this car is if you make a small mistake in an open wheel car, so we see some side-by-side action here with Alan Metni again with Jeff Kingsley. The biggest thing with this car is it's so easy to make a mistake, and if you make a mistake, it's a half a second, whereas in an open wheel car, a mistake can cost me a tenth or two. So he's saying that delta is really meaning that he has to hone his craft, and that could come into play later on in this race.
Roman Deangelis, the pole sitter, has been in charge. 18-year-old from Ontario. Second in the championship last year. Won one of the races here. That was one of his 2 wins last year, along with an event at Watkins Glen as well. His goal this year is he continues to run the Canadian series as well. He wants championships of both, and certainly he would look like the favorite coming in.
I absolutely think so, and you just pay attention to how smooth he drives this car, and later on we're going to get to view Parker Thompson a bit more. Parker Thompson just a little bit more rough around the edge, just chucks the car into the corners a little bit more, and I think that's going to pay dividends for Roman Deangelis further into the race as these Yokohama tires start to lose their peak, because no pit stops here, or, well, ideally not, unless, of course, you have a puncture or something, but you don't want to make a pit stop here, so it becomes very important to preserve these Yokohama tires during the course of the 45-minute race.
So Max Root get into the scene. He's running in 4th, 19-year-old out of San Diego. He was the 2018 IMSA Hurley Haywood GT3 scholarship winner. Riley Dickinson running in 3rd right now, another young driver. There's a look at Root for Wright Motorsports. He's one of the few that had no karting background. He said that's been taking some time to play some catch up, and he's just started karting in the last year to try to learn road course racing. in London, Ontario. They've gapped a little bit on McAllister running back there in 7th.
Hey, I'm very impressed here with Alan Metney and the pressure he's been able to hold off here from Jeff Kingsley, because that's not an easy thing. And as we have a spinner here,
and
McAllister. That is McAllister. And again, that's in that turn 8-9 combination. Would have carried probably a bit too much speed over that crest. And McAllister now being overtaken by Keimer in the 23 car, the orange and white car there.
It's Fred Keimer holding off McAllister. Keimer's another one of those interesting stories who got into it like so many drivers do with his parents, and McAllister will make his way back around him for that position. Meanwhile, we'll get back to Keimer in a moment as the battle heats up for 5th position. Metney, Kingsley, Metney in front, trying to hold off the youngster.
So the key here for Kingsley is to try and square up the exit at turn 3 and see if he can do anything on the brakes. And if he's smart here, he'll try and square off this turn 5 to get the over-under, get the traction on the low side of the track here. Not going to do so this time, as a bit of a wiggle for Alan Metney. And this is a great battle, and it's going to rage on into turn 8.
Kingsley trying to go around the long way. That's not really a place where you can get much done in the museum turn. Through 8 and 9, headed up to that little kink. Keep in mind, Metney is dominating the Masters part of this race right now. So my question would be, do you let him go because you're thinking big picture or Masters? Or, as he told me, I've won a Masters championship now. I want to see if I can race the kids.
That's exactly it. Alan Metney does not care about the Masters championship anymore. He wants to go for outright wins and podiums, and this is the way that you do it. You fight it out with the young kids, but right now wouldn't be surprised to see Jeff Kingsley try and go for a big moment there for Alan Metney.
And he's in a position that would mean something to him too. I said, have you finished top 5 before? And he said, no, 6 quite a few times. Top 5 would be a major mark.
Yeah, and he's certainly on track to be able to do so if he just keeps it clean. But keep in mind, still 26 minutes to go, and he doesn't want to have too many moments like he just did there, because that'll wear out the rear tires in a hurry.
Kingsley trying a little over-under here.
Tell you what, though, Alan Metney's pretty smart. He's not letting the car ride out too wide to give Jeff Kingsley that inside line there on the exit. So he's playing it very, very smart, and then protects well into turn 8. Oh, and he runs wide, and Jeff Kingsley's got the position.
So Kingsley stalked him long enough to force Alan Metney into a mistake. Metney maintains the Masters class lead, but he's fallen back to 6th overall. Jeff Kingsley is through for 5th, and now tries to go work on Max Root, who is well up the road, about 8 seconds ahead.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jeff Kingsley absolutely disappear, as we're getting a replay here, and you can just see he was on the inside coming into turn 8 and just got a little bit of clag on those tires and carried too much speed into turn 8 for what the grip would allow him. And yeah, Jeff Kingsley has just set sail, but still, fair play to Alan Metney for being able to hang on for that many laps. That was impressive.
And he's enjoyed the experience of just learning how to do this. He's going to be better by the end of this race day today for that battle that he just had.
He 100% has. And look at this battle a little bit further back in the field here. 4 or 5 cars battling it out for position, and and there's a gold car in there as well, in the 15th car.
And you'll see the gold cars mix it up with the platinums every once in a while. Randall Bryant is the gold car with TPC Racing. There's Deangelis, the leader, getting into lap traffic right now.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting. You can see him flashing his lights there, and that's nicely done for one of the drivers. That's the number 15 of Randall Bryant getting out of the way. Fair play to him. And now the big thing for Roman Deangelis is just get through this as clean as I can. Have you ever seen anyone cut the curb as aggressively as Parker Thompson just did there through turn 10, 11?
Deangelis with lap traffic in front of him. That's Aiden Ramos. His deal was just announced a couple of days ago, right in front of him.
And the key here for Roman Deangelis is just patience, patience, patience. He's got a 9-second lead here. He does not need to put his car at any risk. So he's just going to make one nice move here. Oh, actually, is he going to go for 2? He is going for 2. Wow. Didn't see that coming into turn 1.
Juan Manuel Fayen in the 19 car. His first professional race for FMS Motorsport. And now Deangelis has some clear road ahead of him. So Thompson and Dickinson cut into the advantage, but now how quickly can they get through the traffic?
Well, that's just it, and Parker Thompson has a lot less experience dealing with slower traffic than does Roman Deangelis, because this is, of course, Parker Thompson's first ever race in a GT car and in open wheel racing. A lot less fighting with slower cars than this.
36 car is Vernon Mcclure in front of him, also making his series debut. That's him in the front of this little pack. He said, I just cut the car about 3 weeks ago. My goal is to bring it home, finish, learn, stay out of everybody's way to some extent. But he's been racing so far. He's had an impressive debut weekend.
Yeah, it's been cool, and getting to watch this battle here for the gold honors in the 18 car is Richard Edge, and he's trying to hold back. Who's that in the 52 car? Kurt Fasekas.
Victor Carrazzo maintains the lead, up ahead of them by about 10 seconds in gold. So this is second and third in gold right now.
And mind you, they're trying to stay with a platinum car as well, which is not an easy feat to do. Quite a bit more horsepower in the platinum car. So Edge is probably trying to get into the draft of the platinum car here to just try and get a little bit more speed.
You know, one of the other differences between the platinum cars and the gold cars is the Masters drivers, 45 and older, and the platinum cars have ABS braking, so that's an advantage. The Gold Cup cars do not.
And here we have Parker Thompson. They've caught up, and in doing so, I think Parker Thompson might lose a position here. It's going to be close. They're side by side with Dickinson and Thompson, 3 wide into turn 5.
And Ramos is the meat in the middle of the sandwich. Thompson on the inside. Dickinson trying to go around the outside. And up in front of them is Sean McAllister, who had that early incident, and they still maintain side by side for second place. The white car is Dickinson. Both drivers making their series debut. They maintain side by side through the twisty part of the course with traffic in front of them. And Dickinson looks like he has the advantage for just the moment, and Dickinson has cleared him.
What a sequence of corners here, and Dickinson just played that to perfection. Looked for a moment like he was going to lose momentum, but actually got around the outside, and now is going to put some distance between himself and Parker Thompson, with the 19 car being the meat in the sandwich.
Juan Manuel Fayen, series debut. Thompson will get past him, but look at that. He's now 6-7 car lengths behind, and he's got a lot of work to do to get back into that fight for second.
Wow, and I tell you, for Juan Manuel, that is not a nice feeling in your first ever GT3 Cup race, to be right in the battle for the podium, and you don't know which way to go.
More speed is the team for Riley Dickinson, and keep in mind, this was the 19 car last year that won 8 races with a couple of different drivers. So we know this team and this program is hooked up. Will Hardiman won early, and then Zachary Robichon won 7 of the last 8 races in the 19. Now it's the 53 car, so no surprise that the 53 with Riley Dickinson making his series debut. He won a karting championship 2 years ago in Scusa and just started driving sports cars last year. Look at this battle.
And he's brought his karting habits with him on the grass, somehow able to hang it around the outside. And look at this smart move here. He cuts it down low, gets the traction, puts that 450 horsepower plus to the ground. And from here is where it gets super, super crazy. Up into turn 8. Tries to go around the outside of Juan Manuel. Can't do it. Looks like Parker Thompson's going to have it. But then Dickinson on the power just a little bit earlier than Parker Thompson. Gets the power down and the position. What an awesome battle.
And in honor of our buddy Calvin Fish, a little argy-bargy through there as well. And meanwhile, the 19 car ultimately set a nice pick that helped Dickinson get to the front. Really nice young man, still just 16 years old. From New Braunfels, Texas, he'll be 17 coming up next month, driving with More Speed, who's had a lot of success in different levels of sports car racing. They compete in the WeatherTech Series in the GTD class. And Riley Dickinson is making his presence known in his series debut.
Oh, and Edge has lost his second place in the gold category by going off the track. I believe that's turn 5, so he's had a spin. Obviously not sure if that was through contact with Fazekas or not. That's a shame, because that was a great little battle going on there.
Through that battle for second and third, Roman Deangelis stretched his lead. Remember, it was about 8 or 9 seconds. Now it's over 11 seconds.
Wow, and now Roman Deangelis, the only thing he hopes and prays for is that there's not a full course yellow, because I think Dickinson now in second place is actually turning in some very, very fast laps, and I believe that the Yokohama fastest lap of the race still honors right now of Roman Deangelis, but that could quickly change.
Yeah, you look at the last lap time, and it was just a 1/10 of a second difference between Deangelis and Dickinson.
But Parker Thompson, though, losing 6/10 here on that last lap to Dickinson. So Parker Thompson clearly struggling here in the closing stages of the race.
How much abuse did that battle put on the tires?
Oh, I think big time, and especially whenever you have to go offline like you saw both of them had to do, it's so easy to pick up some gravel, some dust and stuff on the tires, and that can sometimes take 2 or 3 laps to really come off the tires. So not ideal, and a lot of marbles on the outside line here after a long day of racing with IndyCar, with F3, with Lamborghini, with Porsche, all these different categories adding different types of rubber that are not compatible, as we have another spin. I believe that's the 17 car of Kurt Swearingen. Yeah, that is, and difficult spot, that turn 5. We've seen that all weekend long in IndyCar, certainly, that drivers are getting spun around there, and yeah, you lose so much pressure on the tires as you crest the hill there in that brake zone for turn 5.
Swearingen was running in 19th, 5th in Gold Cup. He'll lose several positions there. And the leader, Roman Deangelis, still has the Yokohama fastest lap of the race, as you mentioned, Anders, on lap number 2.
But more importantly, on that last lap, Dickinson actually went a half of a tenth, quicker than Deangelis. Not that it's going to really change anything for that 11-second lead at this point. However, if there is a full course yellow, he could potentially have the pace and have a chance to go for the lead.
And Parker Thompson has gotten back on pace with the 2 leaders. In fact, the top 3 almost identical times, all 1:29.4 on that last lap. So you're still thinking about a podium and getting something done in this race. How much are you thinking about tomorrow at this point?
Well, I think it's not just tomorrow, but it's also the overall championship. In the case of Roman Deangelis, he had such a strong run towards the end of the year last year, and he really wants to start off on that same foot. So for him, he's already thinking long term, and the same exact goes for Dickinson and as well as Thompson.
The 42 car is Bill Smith. He's in the Platinum class, one of the Masters, running in 12th, and right behind him is the leader in Gold Cup. That's that's Sebastian Carrazzo from Puerto Rico, running 13th overall. He's got about a 15-second advantage on Kurt Fazekas. He wants to get more of these Platinum Cup cars.
He does, and he's fighting tooth and nail as if he didn't already have the lead here. But it's just one of those things where if you have a car that's slower ahead of you up the road, you want to get by that car so you can continue your own rhythm and your own speed, and that's exactly what he's trying to do here. Sebastian
Carrazzo, like so many of these drivers, did karts as a youngster and then started club racing at 16. He was racing in the SCCA Trans Am Series last year. Does have experience in this track. He's raced here in different cars 4 times before.
And talk about a difference in cars going from the Trans Am car to the GT3 Cup car. Trans Am car, some 800 horsepower, big rumbling V8, a very unsophisticated machine, if you will. And then you step into this GT3 Cup car, which is one of the single most sophisticated GT3 cars on the planet.
There's second place in goal we mentioned. Kurt Fazekas in the 52 car, and Victor Gomez, who had that early off, one of the Platinum Cup cars, trying to make his way back through the field.
I tell you what, in the 50-year anniversary of IMSA racing, how cool is it to see this throwback livery here on that 25 car of Victor Gomez? That is just awesome looking. Obviously, going back to Porsche's Le Mans victory in, I believe, the 1970s. Awesome livery on this car.
Gomez won here last year in Gold Cup in race number 1. Second in race number 2. Also won here back in 2017. And the 18 of Richard Edge is around.
and that's again in turn 5, the same spot where he was around earlier, so clearly a big trouble spot here for Richard Edge. And I'm wondering if he needs to change his brake bias slightly. Maybe he's got that little bit too far towards the rear, and so that every time he smashes on the brake, the rear gets loose on him, and he loses the rear end. So probably wouldn't be a bad idea for him to reevaluate doing some changes with his brake bias.
He raced in the PCA Club Racing Trophy East Series last year. Had a lot of experience in these cars, so learning as he goes here today.
And just, I mean, look at how beautiful this facility is. I remember coming to this place in 2011 for the first time and driving it and just being blown away by the rhythm of this place. And when you have a car that's set up to your liking, you can just drive forever. It almost feels like dancing because you're continuously going from G-load to G-load to G-load. But tell you what, when you don't have a good setup around a place like this, that makes for a long, long race.
So for the IndyCar qualifying show on NBCSN just a little while ago, I basically toured the facility, and I went over on that observation deck out of the museum, which was just added 2 or 3 years ago, and got a great look not only of the Alabama roller coaster, which is the 2-3 section and heading back down that straightaway, but then heading down into the 8-9 section down towards the kink in turn number 10, the waterfall. It's like a perfect campground with an immaculate racetrack right in the middle, and it's only $90 to become a member, where you can come to the museum anytime you want, and that's how you get access to that observation tower and can walk over the track and stand on the deck and get a great look at the race cars for the entire weekend. So it's worth looking into.
And that's a cracker of a deal, not just for that reason, but because that museum is one of the most fun-filled museums I've ever been to, with the amount of motorcycles and Formula One cars, and I think it's the biggest collection of Lotus race cars in the world that they have in that museum, and it's just tremendous. So absolutely worth a visit.
A little battle here, mid-pack. Charlie Luck in 9th position. That lime green stripe, kind of rainbow colors. Fred Pourdad is right behind him in the 20 car, one of the physicians in the field.
And I tell you, he's got one of the coolest liveries Pourdad does, and on the side it says, "Got veins." I think that is just one of the coolest
that's
liveries
Kerr
on any race cars. Oh,
that's another doctor. Tom Kerr is also, he's as you might guess, he's a vascular surgeon. So it says "Got veins." So the doctors there are running nose to tail. The 20 car is Dr. Fred Pourdad, who's won before in Gold Cup. He is a physician and the VP of Academic and Medical Affairs at the Texas Liver Institute, and he's also a professor of medicine.
How cool
He's
is
pretty
that?
Good. He's pretty good at this.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's awesome watching the battle here. Coming out of the final quarter with 11 minutes 30 to go, and a huge dive down the inside. Wow. For Luck, that was an aggressive move, wasn't it?
That was not for position. The 19 is a lapped car. And Luck has a lot of racing experience. Again, I think some might remember him, but he was very competitive in what is now the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the Busch Series, back in the 80s. Stopped racing to run the family business. He's the president and CEO of Luckstone, a third-generation huge company. Crushed stone, sand and gravel, one of the biggest in the country. And I talked with him on Thursday, and he said, you know, I always wanted to get back in racing. Once the kids kind of grew up, I got back into it and was just looking for something that was safe, that money didn't buy you wins, and there weren't a lot of politics involved. He said, I've had a lot of fun doing this.
Well, and I think to that point, that's as we have now a little bit of a battle heating up here with Alan Metney under tremendous pressure here from the 11 car of Sean McAllister. Let's see what he can do here. But no, I think that is one of the beauties of this GT3 Cup, is just how limited you are on the engineering side of the car. You're basically only allowed to change on the mechanical side of things, ride height, cambers, and toes and roll bars, and that's it. You cannot change the springs, you cannot change the dampers. So basically they've tried to lock this down as much as possible to make this all about the drivers, and I think that's a great thing.
Remember, McAllister lost a lot of ground earlier, so he's been on his giddy-up to catch back up to Alan Metney here. So McAllister is one of those learning. This is his debut race, the current winner of the Hurley Haywood GT3 scholarship, 22 years old, from California. He won the Platinum class in the Pirelli Trophy West Series last year with 11 wins in 14 races, and now he's going to work on the Masters leader, 52-year-old Alan Metni.
I think it's just a matter of time before he's going to get him here. Again, he's got much more speed at this stage of the race, so Alan Metni just starting to fade a little bit here in the closing stages with less than 10 minutes to go. So I think it's a matter here of McAllister just being patient and waiting until he gets back around to the back straight for that brake zone for turn 5. That's by far and away going to be his best opportunity to pass. So going through here, he just needs to bide his time, and it's a difficult thing to do when you're quicker than someone, to just know that you have to wait another half a lap. But I think this stage in the race, that's probably the smartest thing to do, unless he tries to go for something crazy here in the final couple of corners.
A little wiggle there for Metni. He's got about a 10-second lead for the Masters division right now on Fred Keimer. I mentioned Keimer earlier. His dad, who played for what are now the New York Jets, the New York Titans in the AFL, bought 3 stock cars for himself and his 2 sons after they went through college, and that's how Fred got into racing about 25 years ago, switched to sports cars. And he's still hanging on to that position, 6th overall in the race. And McAllister trying a little over-under.
But Alan Metni's just doing such a nice job of being defensive without blocking and without doing anything dangerous. He just clearly says, hey, I'm going to the inside of the track. If you want to do something with me, just outbrake me around the outside, which of course is very, very difficult to do here in turn 5. So yeah, quite surprised actually at just how good Alan Metni is at protecting his position. I mean, it took Jeff Kingsley how many laps? 5, 6, 7 laps to get by Metni. So yeah, master defender.
Inside the final 8 minutes of this 45-minute race, it's the season debut for the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama. Another one coming up tomorrow live on IMSA.com, and a rebroadcast coming up on NBCSN.
Yeah, and they're catching up to some lap traffic here, so this could certainly play into things as they're coming back onto the front straightaway here. And it's all about timing now for Alan Metni. He probably wants to try and get one of these cars going into turn 1. Doesn't look like that's going to be a big problem here. That's David Brule Sr. He's going to let them go. No harm, no foul there. And now again, the big question is, can McAllister square off this corner to get the run down into turn 5? So he's got to be on the power, and I think he's got a really good run now as Alan Metni ran a bit wide, and look at this, he's already side by side now. What can they do into turn 5?
Good stuff coming up here into the hairpin. Metni still has the inside position, hangs on to it. Can the crossover work for McAllister?
No, again it doesn't. This is Alan Metni just doing a fabulous job of not carrying too much speed through the middle of turn 5 and not running it wide there. So now he's just got to be careful to not make the same mistake that he did with Kingsley earlier on and run wide in turn 8. So fabulous stuff. This great battle this late in the race.
Impressive work for Alan Metni, who started racing a few years ago. He was a professional skydiver, 10 years on the U.S. Skydive team, and iFly is the company that he created. He developed the device, which is essentially like virtual skydiving, and something someone like me might actually consider, because there's no way I'm jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
Me, you both. Yeah, I love the essentially a wind tunnel looking thing, isn't it, that he's devised that enables people to skydive inside. It's a really, really cool thing. But right now, I don't think he's thinking about that. He is thinking about that black and gold car here that he's being followed by of Sean McAllister.
Roman Deangelis still in charge. He stretched his lead by another half a second or so. Now up over to 12 seconds. Dickinson is in control of P2 right now. Parker Thompson about 3 seconds back. This has been a clinic by Roman Deangelis.
It's just been a dominant display so far, and I mean, he's really showing warning signs to everyone else for the championship, isn't he? That the note that he ended the season on last year is exactly how he intends on carrying into this season, and we know it was close in qualifying, but in the race he has just put the hammer down, and yeah, this is impressive stuff.
Got the blinkers on, get out of my way. That's Kurt Fazekas right in front of him, one of the Gold Cup drivers who's actually running second in gold right now. That's how stout Deangelis has been. This isn't like some other forms of sports car racing where the different classes really cannot compete with each other. Some of the really good Gold Cup drivers will beat some of the Platinum drivers. Maybe 30 to 40 horsepower is the difference that we're talking about, and obviously it's a newer generation race car as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a little bit of difference there, but I think that's a great thing, and it's also great practice because almost all of these drivers are aspiring to one day be in the WeatherTech or the IMSA WeatherTech Championship, and of course that means multi-class racing. That means you have to drive with other cars that are faster and slower than you, and so that becomes crucial.
Parker Thompson has won here a pair of times in USF 2000, first and second last year in what was Pro Mazda, now Indy Pro 2000. That's the road to Indy, trying to get to IndyCar, and he swept the only 2 races they've had at St. Petersburg. So his goal, and obviously everything always is involved in funding, is to do both of these championships. They don't have conflicts.
Well, I tell you, and it's such a smart thing for Parker Thompson because I think a lot of drivers realize maybe after their career that maybe I should have tried to diversify my skill set a little bit and not just rely on either sports car or open wheel racing, but in fact do both. And so to have the opportunity for Parker Thompson is just great, as we have Max Root here in the shot, and that's a great view there coming through turn 13, 14. Beautiful section of the track.
Max Root, who finished second 3 times last year, still looking for his first win, finished 4th in the Platinum Cup standings last year as a rookie, running in 4th today. He was last year's IMSA Hurley Haywood GT3 scholarship recipient. He's a student at Pepperdine. And he's got a nice comfortable advantage on 5th place. And Jeff Kingsley right now.
Isn't that just so cool? You have college students racing Porsche GT3 Cup cars. I mean, that's fantastic.
This is a cool series. You've got the college students, the young up-and-comers, and then you've got people who have been incredibly successful at business and life that have the financial means to go out and do what we'd all love to do, CEOs of companies, and they mix it up together.
And racing's the great equalizer. Like there's no personalities out here. There's no great success at school or business out here. There is only drivers and driving as hard as you possibly can. And a great category for sure. And again, I love just how closely aligned all these cars are from a technical perspective. It means that it's all down to the driver.
Kingsley racing for the first time here, so that's something to think about for tomorrow. With a day experience in racing, you might see him be a little bit more a factor in race number 2.
Yeah, and I think also he's going to use that data from Parker Thompson to figure out exactly where he's been quicker. Parker Thompson some 10 seconds up the road of him, and so there's no doubt something that Kingsley can learn.
14th overall and leading the Gold Cup race, Sebastian Carrazzo. And he has experience, 4 races last year, but full-time this year, racing for a championship for NGT Motorsport in the Allied Car and Truck Rental Car.
And he's just absolutely ran away with this one. We saw Edge kind of getting a bit aggressive in the midpoint of the race, and so because of that, this gap has just grown even more here for Carrazzo, and he's putting together a very nice run here and paying attention to his driving style. Again, very, very smooth, almost a bit similar to that of Roman Deangelis, in that he never puts the car sideways anywhere, which is absolutely helping this late in the stages. And speaking of Roman Deangelis, here he is coming up to lap that car of Carrazzo.
Exactly. Carrazzo is the last car on the lead lap, and he's got 1 more lap to go to be able to stay on that lead lap. White flag next time by for Roman Deangelis. Coming around the final couple of turns. And then he'll see the white flag. Turn 17 coming up. Roman Deangelis.
Yeah, and it's almost like Carrazzo should have slowed down intentionally there to try and get the white flag with Roman Deangelis to make sure he got the checker flag as well, but that'll be an additional lap here unless Roman Deangelis is able to catch and drive by him here on this lap.
The lead continues to increase for Deangelis. Almost 14 seconds now. Riley Dickinson is in control for second. He actually lost a couple of seconds on that lap as timing and scoring recycles. And Parker Thompson should be safe for the final podium spot, but Max Root is still within striking distance if Thompson makes a move.
Well, I noticed this with Roman Deangelis. He was using his windshield wipers a little bit, and as we look out of our booth here, there's some sizable raindrops here on the window looking out. So, yeah, I bet Roman Deangelis is happy that there's only a half a lap to go, because, yeah, that is not any fun at all to be on slicks in rainy conditions.
Wow, rain comes with a lap to go. I'm trying to see how hard it's raining. We see it on the windshield of the booth, but it's enough to leave a little bit of a mark, so you're noticing it in the cockpit, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, you can feel it. The moment there's 2 drops on the racetrack, you can feel it, but I don't think it's going to hamper Roman Deangelis here with 2 corners to go.
So we've got the 2 race leaders right there together in the screenshot. In front is the Gold Cup leader, Sebastian Carrazzo. He sees the white flag and checkered flag for the overall winner in Platinum Cup. The young Canadian Roman Deangelis takes the season opener at Barber Motorsports Park.
He doesn't just take it, he dominates it, he crushes it over 15 seconds up the road of Dickinson. What a true display here. Lights to flag for Roman Deangelis, and here we have Alan Metney, who's going to be on track to winning the Masters category. Not that he cares particularly, he only cares about the overall battle, but still a great drive here for Alan Metney, and a great job holding off for such a long period of time. First Jeff Kingsley, and here in this cracker of a battle for Sean McAllister.
Not done yet. McAllister would like to pick up one more position. I think the Masters race does matter to Metney, but he wants to race for the overall positions as well. For 6th overall and a Masters win in Platinum Cup, Alan Metney takes the checkered flag. McAllister right behind him. On debut, he finishes 7th.
I bet Alan Metney is going to be grinning ear to ear, because they've battled it out that long with these youngsters. Yeah, that's mighty impressive. So here we have the gold class leader, Carrazzo, coming around. One couple of more corners to go. It's been a solo drive for him, and he's just been absolutely dominant in very similar fashion, again, to what Roman Deangelis did.
And because he was just barely ahead of the overall leader, he essentially is taking a victory lap at pace. He's going to be the last car on track. Back on the main straightaway, seeing the checkered flag. A season-opening debut win of 2019 for Sebastian Carrazzo from Puerto Rico. He takes the Gold Cup in the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's just so impressive there, and to think that he was the only gold car to not get lapped by the platinum car means that he's driven this gold car to the absolute limit, as Roman Deangelis here comes back into pit lane for celebrations with his crew.
Roman Deangelis headed towards victory lane. We'll see and hear from him and the winner of race number 2 on the NBCSN special. Check IMSA's social media for details on that coming up. Meanwhile, they'll race again coming up tomorrow on Sunday, 11:55 local time, so just before 1 o'clock Eastern time, again live on IMSA.com.
And I think unlike the last couple of years here at Barber Motorsports Park, no chance of rain whatsoever on Sunday, so it's going to be another amazing race. And to speak about amazing race, look at this initial start here. Big drama on the opening lap into turn 1.
And after that, nobody had anything for Roman Deangelis. Some drama with lap cars at one point. And a very impressive start to the season. Roman Deangelis wins. Riley Dickinson in his series debut comes home 2nd. Parker Thompson also on series debut in his first sports car race finishes 3rd. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow. For Anders Crone, I'm Kevin Lee. Congratulations, Roman Deangelis wins the season opener from Barber. Hey, for some reason,